Can the West still exert the same influence in Africa as it once did? The narrative is shifting as African nations make strides towards success. It's not limited to just one or two countries. A list of nations are actively working to elevate Africa's status as a continent. Despite these positive developments, Western interference persists. Recent events have highlighted Africa's determination to resist external pressures. Notably, Niger ended water exploitation agreements with France, Uganda resisted forced cultural changes, and South Africa took legal action against Israel and the United States at the International Court of Justice (ICJ). These unexpected moves have left the West in a state of confusion, confused with how to respond as they find themselves under attack from all directions. But will the West fight back? Let's find out. In recent news across the African continent, big things that deserve admiration are happening. But what nations are the highlights? From the bustling streets of Lagos, Nigeria, to the vibrant vibes of Johannesburg, South Africa, and the picturesque landscapes of Uganda, the African spirit is alive and kicking, showcasing resilience, determination, and a strong stride towards self-reliance. Let's start things off with Nigeria. The people there make waves with their entrepreneurial spirit, turning challenges into opportunities. From tech hubs in Lagos to fashion scenes in Abuja, Nigerians are painting a picture of progress, one vibrant color at a time. Then comes the Rainbow Nation, South Africa. In the heart of it all, Johannesburg is a buzzing hive of activity. Recent events have shown the world that South Africa is not just about safaris and stunning landscapes. It's also a place where people stand tall against adversity. And guess what? The solidarity pouring in from unexpected places is making headlines. Now let's zoom into the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. The lush greenery and the smiles on the faces of Ugandans hide stories of determination and progress. From Kampala's bustling streets to Lake Victoria's serene beauty, Uganda is moving towards self-reliance. But hold on, this isn't just a one-country show. This is Africa, a continent on the rise, and each nation plays its part in the grand symphony of progress. It's like a dinner where every dish brings something unique, creating a feast of diversity and growth. While they all are resilient, something recently showed that Africa is rising. Let's first start with an in-depth analysis of the achievements Africa is making from Nigeria. Nigeria recently cut ties with Veolia, in a bold and decisive move reminiscent of its fight for independence. This French company had long held a monopoly on the treatment and supply of water to Nigerian households. This groundbreaking decision marks a significant shift toward reclaiming control over its water sector, as evidenced by the establishment of a state-owned company that managed domestic water resources. The journey towards water independence began with Nigeria declaring an emergency in its water, sanitation, and hygiene wash sector in 2018. This declaration responded to many challenges, including inadequate infrastructure, a scarcity of human capital, poor investment, and a regulatory environment in dire need of improvement. Terminating Veolia's contract is a tangible step towards addressing these issues head-on. As of 2019, 60 million Nigerians found themselves without access to basic drinking water, and 80 million lacked improved sanitation facilities. These alarming statistics prompted the Nigerian government to take decisive action, recognizing that access to clean water is not just a basic human right, but a cornerstone of sustainable development. In collaboration with various partners, the United Nations has been actively involved in supporting communities and institutions at both the national and subnational levels to enhance water access and sanitation in Nigeria. The ISDG Integrated Sustainable Development Goals model, introduced by the UN in Nigeria in 2019, utilizes computer simulation to delve into and address the complex challenges associated with infrastructure investment and development. The decision to terminate Veolia's contract represents a turning point in Nigeria's quest for water independence. It's not merely about breaking ties with a foreign entity. It's a declaration of self-reliance and a commitment to ensuring that every Nigerian has access to clean and safe water. The move also highlights the Nigerian government's recognition of the urgent need to revitalize its water sector. In ending ties with Veolia, the government sends a clear message that the days of dependency on external entities for essential services are over. The newly established state-owned company symbolizes the nation's determination to take charge of its destiny, particularly regarding a resource as fundamental as water. The challenges identified in the WASH sector are not unique to Nigeria, and the United Nations' involvement highlights the global commitment to achieving clean water and sanitation for all by 2030. The ISDG model provides a cutting-edge approach, leveraging computer simulation to navigate the intricacies of infrastructure development, ensuring that resources are allocated efficiently and effectively. Nigeria's water revolution is addressing immediate challenges and creating a sustainable and resilient water infrastructure for the future. It's a journey that involves overcoming existing obstacles and preventing potential pitfalls through informed decision-making and strategic planning. Before the recent turn of events, Veolia, a French company, held a significant sway over Nigeria's water sector. But you must be thinking why this company was thrown out of Niger. Well, we will get into that. But let us tell you what Veolia did was unforgivable. The company was responsible for treating and supplying water to Nigerian households, essentially controlling a vital resource for the nation. The decision to terminate its contract was not merely a break from a foreign entity, but a strategic move towards reclaiming control over a fundamental resource. The termination of Veolia's contract wasn't an endpoint, but a new beginning. Nigeriano's mandate goes beyond immediate water supply concerns. It embodies a broader commitment to developing and maintaining a robust water infrastructure that can withstand the test of time. This move aligns with the vision of a self-reliant Nigeria, taking charge of its essential services and reducing dependency on external entities. Nigeria's water revolution isn't a mere response to immediate challenges, but a commitment to shaping a sustainable and resilient water infrastructure for the future. It's a journey that involves overcoming existing obstacles and preventing potential pitfalls through informed decision-making and strategic planning. Establishing a new company and adopting the ISDG model are critical steps toward this vision. Nigerians are committed to national ownership and control over water resources, while the ISDG model provides a forward-looking approach to infrastructure development. But why was Veolia forced to stop working by Nigeria? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Nigeria's termination of Veolia's contract reflects a broader commitment to reclaiming control over vital sectors, particularly the nation's water resources. Veolia, a French company, was entangled in controversy due to its exploitative practices, amplifying concerns about the sustainability and equitable distribution of Nigeria's crucial water resources. One of the central grievances against Veolia was its apparent failure to actively contribute to the transfer of technology and knowledge to the local population. Instead of fostering a collaborative approach that would empower Nigerians to manage their water resources independently, Veolia seemed to prioritize its interests over the nation's long-term development. The decision to terminate the contract is a decisive response to this perceived imbalance, signaling Nigeria's determination to break free from a pattern of external exploitation. By ending ties with Veolia, Nigeria aims to transition towards a model where foreign entities contribute economically and actively share expertise, promoting a sustainable and self-reliant future. This move echoes a growing sentiment across the continent, where nations are becoming increasingly assertive in safeguarding their resources. African countries insist that foreign partnerships align with mutual benefit and knowledge transfer principles. The termination of Veolia's contract is not an isolated incident. It is part of a larger narrative where African nations take charge of their destinies, demanding partnerships that contribute to long-term growth and development. But why does getting self-reliant in basic needs like water matter so much? The answer is simple. It was not just the French company exploitation that Nigeria was facing. There were other problems that the country was facing. The country faces increasing water demand due to population growth, changing lifestyles, and excessive use. Human-generated factors such as industrial wastes, effluents, oil spillages, and salinization of surface and groundwaters further threaten the nation's water resources. The issue of water privatization, often promoted by international bodies like the International Finance Corporation (IFC), has been a contentious point. The IFC, the private arm of the World Bank, attempted to negotiate water agreements in Lagos, Nigeria. However, these efforts were resisted, as the proposed plans were deemed unworkable and too expensive for the city. In January 2024, the Nigerian government decided to nationalize the exploitation of its drinking water. This bold step aims to address many challenges the country's water sector faces and ensure access to clean water for its citizens. The move aligns with the broader narrative of reclaiming control over vital sectors, as seen in the termination of Veolia's contract. The decision to nationalize the water sector is a proactive response to the water crisis in Nigeria. It signifies a departure from relying on external entities, emphasizing the importance of local management and ownership. This shift holds the promise of addressing immediate challenges and establishing a framework for sustainable water resource management that prioritizes the needs of the Nigerian population. In the context of nationalization, the termination of Veolia's contract takes on added significance. It demonstrates Nigeria's commitment to shaping its destiny and ensuring that partnerships, whether foreign or domestic, align with the nation's long-term interests. The termination of Veolia's contract sets a precedent for responsible and inclusive partnerships in vital sectors. Nigeria's message is clear. Collaborations must be mutually beneficial, fostering economic growth and the transfer of knowledge and skills to local communities. This aligns with the broader narrative of African nations demanding partnerships that contribute in the short term and equip local populations for sustained management of essential resources. As Nigeria reclaims control over its water sector, it serves as a beacon for other African nations facing similar challenges. So Niger becoming self-reliant was bad news for nations that exploited it, like France. But there is also another bad news for Western nations: the rise of South Africa. How is this bad news? Let's talk about South Africa to understand how this nation, like many others in Africa, is making significant strides towards a better future. As we all know, South Africa has sued Israel. South Africa's legal decision to take on Israel exemplifies its commitment to justice and human rights. This move doesn't occur in isolation but aligns with a collective determination among African nations to hold others accountable for unacceptable actions on the global stage. The legal challenge is a beacon, illustrating how African nations leverage international platforms to ensure accountability and justice prevail. The legal challenge also symbolizes the maturation of legal frameworks within African nations. It highlights these countries' growing sophistication and readiness to navigate global issues through legal avenues. South Africa's dedication to upholding international laws showcases its commitment and a broader trend of African nations actively engaging in global discourse. The bravery of the South African people in standing against perceived injustices resonates not only within their borders, but also across the continent. This courage becomes part of a larger narrative, where African nations increasingly assert themselves on the global stage, challenging the status quo and demanding accountability. Expressions of gratitude from Palestinians, symbolized by singing the South African national anthem, create a poignant connection between struggles against injustice. This solidarity across borders amplifies the impact of individual actions, turning them into global symbols of hope. It illustrates the interconnectedness of challenges faced by nations and the shared responsibility in addressing them collectively. As the global community focuses on South Africa's legal challenge, it sparks discussions about the effectiveness of legal frameworks in addressing geopolitical issues. This dialogue goes beyond the specific case, raising essential questions about the role of international institutions in safeguarding human rights and ensuring accountability for actions that defy established norms. South Africa's legal challenge is a reminder that the pursuit of justice exceeds borders. Its impact stretches beyond the courtroom, influencing worldwide perceptions and shaping discussions on human rights. It acts as a catalyst for change, motivating other nations to explore legal avenues to address perceived injustices and contribute to building a more just and equitable world. The tale of South Africa's legal challenge is not unique. It is part of a broader story of African nations rising, growing, and actively participating in shaping global issues. As the number of African nations making significant strides increases, these collective efforts create a brighter, more equitable future for the continent and the world. So, African nations are not just becoming self-reliant, they are also giving benefits to the world. Now comes Uganda, the third heart attack in the Western nations. And how exactly is this a heart attack to the West? What is Uganda doing now that can create panic in the West? Recently, Uganda has been making headlines, leaving the Western world both fascinated and, in some cases, uneasy. The focus has shifted from conventional narratives of political instability and societal challenges to the economic front, where President Museveni's leadership has propelled Uganda into a position of self-sufficiency. Amidst external pressures and international scrutiny, Uganda's economic resilience creates ripples that cannot be ignored. Uganda's economic success is not a mere stroke of luck, but an example of the nation's ability to navigate challenges independently. Despite facing external challenges, Uganda boasts an impressive inflation rate of 2.3%, placing it among the lowest globally. This achievement reflects the nation's economic stability and highlights its capacity to withstand external pressures without compromising its principles. President Museveni is at the height of Uganda's economic resurgence, whose leadership extends beyond societal values to a profound commitment to economic independence. Museveni's unwavering dedication to Uganda's historical roots and cultural identity drives the nation's defiance against external pressures. In an era of globalization, Uganda's journey towards economic autonomy stands out as a bold and determined stride towards self-sufficiency. Apart from that, Uganda's commitment to preserving its cultural identity amidst international scrutiny is a noteworthy aspect of its journey. The nation's narrative of defiance against external pressures paints a picture of resilience and determination. This trend is not unique to Uganda alone. Still, it represents a broader movement within the African continent, a collective shift towards self-determination and rejecting impositions that challenge cultural integrity. While the international community closely monitors Uganda's societal decisions, there is a growing recognition of the nation's economic successes. The impressive inflation rate serves as a beacon, signaling Uganda's ability to weather economic storms without compromising its principles. The global acknowledgement of Uganda's economic growth further reinforces the narrative of an African nation charting its course. Now, let's rewind a little to see how these nations' combined growth will impact Africa as a continent. In the bustling arena of self-determination, Nigeria, South Africa, and Uganda have taken center stage, exhibiting a newfound assertiveness that is reshaping the narrative of the entire continent. Nigeria has twirled away from dependency, especially in water management, with the graceful termination of Viola's contract. This move is more than just a diplomatic pirouette. It's a bold statement that declares Nigeria's determination to control its destiny. South Africa is working on its legal move, striding onto the international stage with a fierce legal challenge against Israel. Uganda, under the spotlight of President Museveni's leadership, executes a resilient breakdance against external scrutiny, especially on the issue of homosexuality. Museveni's moves aren't just about defending Uganda's cultural values. They're a bold defiance against pressures that try to force Uganda into a choreography it doesn't want to perform. The combined efforts of Nigeria, South Africa, and Uganda contribute to a narrative of unity through diversity. Despite facing distinct challenges, these nations share a common goal of self-determination and growth. The rejection of exploitative practices, legal activism, and cultural preservation serve as unifying threads, weaving a fabric of solidarity among African nations. This collective unity enhances the continent's resilience against external pressures and fosters an environment conducive to mutual support. The recent developments in Nigeria, South Africa, and Uganda collectively mark a paradigm shift towards autonomy. African nations are no longer passive actors. They are proactive creators of their destinies, challenging historical imbalances and shaping a future based on self-determination. As these African nations navigate the path to autonomy, there are valuable lessons for the global community. The rejection of exploitative practices and commitment to justice highlights the importance of collaborative partnerships based on mutual respect. Africa's growth story becomes a case study for forging global collaborations, prioritizing shared growth over historical power dynamics. Is Africa's growing independence a concern for the West? Historically, Africa has often been viewed as a resource-rich continent that was, unfortunately, easy to exploit. However, times have changed. The continent is witnessing a dynamic shift as African nations increasingly assert themselves economically, making exploitation a far more challenging endeavor for the West. Natural resources are no longer up for grabs as easily as before, and Africa is demanding fair partnerships that benefit its people. Another factor amplifying Western concerns is Africa's assertiveness in global politics. The continent has shown a willingness to stand independently, even if it means challenging Western allies. One notable instance is Africa's vocal opposition to certain actions by Israel, a country with significant support from the West. This shift in alignment has raised eyebrows, prompting the West to reassess its influence on the continent. Furthermore, Africa's resistance to Western-imposed cultural changes has become a noteworthy aspect of its growing autonomy. The continent embraces its rich cultural diversity and heritage, resisting attempts to mold it into a Western-centric worldview. This resistance preserves Africa's identity and serves as a symbolic gesture of defiance against external influence. In light of these developments, Africa is becoming a force against Western interference. Economic resilience, geopolitical independence, and cultural preservation have created a shield that protects the continent from external pressures. Do you think it is possible to stop Africa now? What would happen if the West tried to do it? Does Africa have enough resistance? Can anyone shake it? Let us know in the comment section if you think Africa is now an easy target. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.